Real life, doing a show every day. Sometimes it's pouring and people don't know how to drive.
That's every day.
What's up?
Especially here.
Yeah, especially here. Yeah. Well, or they're not in a rush, so just walked in. Just trying to be real with the people.
Walk in, sit down, and let's talk.
Yeah, that's it. I'm here. What are you pointing at?
No, I was just looking at my watch to make sure we started on time.
Oh,
I mean, we got a pitch clock and everything. This was going to be my show. If you didn't show up, Scott, this was going to be my opening. It was going to be me and Todd. We were going to take this show to the moon.
If it was 1 o'clock and I'm not here, best of luck to you.
Thank you.
With him.
You could have just kept going back home and be like, let's see what they got.
Let me test them out. AJ sometimes, because I'm sitting next to him a lot, he sometimes gets a little testy and he's like, oh, I could do it.
Yeah.
All right, not coming tomorrow.
Be the man.
Run it solo.
Prove it.
Hey, big news.
What?
We've been working on this behind the scenes for a minute. There is a lot more that you can get as part of the FT fam now. FoulTerritoryShop.com is on roids. I mean, for lack of a better term. It's got multiple versions of T-shirts. Ken's got his own Fair Territory shirts. There's lightweight hoodies coming up there. There's still everything that was there in the past. There's beanies. I mean, keep scrolling if we can. Yeah, multiple versions. That's the wear it, now the drink it part. You want a cup, Todd Father? We've got 7.
Wow. Shot glass too? I love that.
You want accessories? My sister was like, you guys should have tote bags. Done. Duffel bags? Done. Notebooks for the kiddos?
Oh, I need that. I need it right here. I forgot my notebook. I need it.
That'll look good there. So that might be Todd Father's super early Christmas gift.
What sizes do the Fair Territory stuff go up to? Is it full sizes?
No, they're not.
Was that a Ken joke?
That was a Ken joke.
Extra large.
You're lucky he's not on today. FoulTerritoryShop.com. Go get after it. I know many people have asked us for a while now. I want more options. I want this. I want that. We tried to take as much feedback as possible.
Let's go.
Let us know what else you want, and we'll do our best to make it happen. We've got a new little setup, so we're able to swing things together a little bit quicker now.
Perfect.
I'm pumped about it. All right, now let's actually talk about something that got tested yesterday. Let's charge the damn mound. Walker Buehler got tossed in the 3rd inning of yesterday's contest between the Red Sox and the Mets. Mets are like, all right, here we go. We got Buehler out of the game. Well, they still fell in the contest. Red Sox put together a nice pitching performance. I would like to show the beefiest part of what happened here, which comes after the game and involves Walker tweeting. He's one of the few players who will put it out there on Twitter. Buehler's day off. Did you see this?
I did see a little bit of it. I didn't see all of it, but I maybe I did see the whole thing. Yeah, they were going
this.
Yeah, he was.
Who is this guy, by the way? Is this just a random dude?
Jordan Moore.
Yeah. Anyone know?
Blue check.
Blue check doesn't mean anything anymore.
Yeah.
All right, so random dude. And Jordan, if you're somebody that I'm missing, then please let me know. The corniest part of the Buehler ejection wasn't Lindor leaning into a pitch before like a loser. Well, that's not nice. But that he talked bleep, screaming and rooting for the ejection. That part's true. Big loser energy warrants a fastball to the back tomorrow if I'm the Red Sox. Kratz, Buehler replies, I wouldn't want me out there either. Sad thing is the bullpen is full of bleeping animals. Tough choice.
Yeah, I mean, this was a whole thread. There was a lot going on. Walker had some excited fingers to get onto the Twitter game and his Instagram game. But that, to me, that's the biggest thing. We'll break down what the umpire did. But to me, what's Lindor? Why is Lindor barking at him like so excited? Lindor literally did lean in to get hit by the pitch. Now, it didn't hit his knee. I think Buehler thought it hit his knee, but it hit him in the toe. So Buehler was already hot, and then ball's down the middle. But why is Lindor trying to get him out of the game? I'm confused by his reaction on second base in that situation.
Yeah, I mean, the moment of the game, Lindor throwing some theatrics out there. one of those things where maybe he's just into it. Like, throw him out, get him out. Listen, the pitcher's right down the plate. He had every right to say something. Maybe Buehler could have said it in a different way, like, "Hey, man, I had that right down the plate." He got after him a little bit. And then Estabrook, as an umpire does, wants to be shown on TV like usual. Just let him get his voice out there, talk something back, and move on. Like, I can't stand that. He went forward to make sure he was seen so he could bark back at him. Whatever happened to an argument and people going at it with each other? I can't, Scott, call me old fashioned, but what happened to the guy they used to beak each other? The beak of the brill used to tip their hat. You big, blah, blah, blah. Like,
now that's contact. That's like a suspension.
Yeah, but it's just,
oh yeah.
I don't know. Was Walker wrong? He was. Don't get me wrong, but man, let the guy get his point across. You missed the call. It's right down the darn plate. Like, come on, man. Jesus.
If you leave your position to argue a call, you're ejected. Why is an umpire not being held responsible for leaving his position? He doesn't need, all he did was he came out and he said, get back on the mound. Because, it's speed up the game. He said his piece, get back on the mound. He doesn't need to walk out in front of home plate, pull his mask off. Like, to me, it can't be just a one-way street. It can't just be, the pitcher, should he have said what he said? Absolutely not. But he didn't say you. He said it was right down the middle. He didn't say you missed it. He didn't say you effing. He did curse, so he should have been gone. But it was escalated by Estabrook. You can't just, how you expect a player in the heat of a moment, especially a pitcher who plays once every 5 days, and those dudes get wound up tight when they're ready to pitch. How do you expect him to just be like, oh, okay, that's fine, I'll go back to the mound? No chance. That dude would get shelled if you would see that. Not a chance that's going to happen. Estabrook escalated it. To me, Buehler, yes, he got kicked out. There should be no fine, but Major League Baseball won't have the spine to stand behind the player.
You want him to not get fined for getting booted from the game?
Yes, because Estabrook is like, it was almost like some dude was like, hey, come on, hit me. What, you won't hit me? Come on. And it was like, what is Buehler supposed to do? What is Buehler supposed to do in that situation? Not say a word? I don't condone the language he used, but I do condone talking to umpires, because if you don't, it's like in basketball. If you don't ever complain about fouls, your team's never going to get calls in your favor. That ball was missed. Estabrook should understand that. He should not escalate the situation, but he did. And to me, Buehler, he has to have self-control. I get it. But
yeah,
that's a good call. You can say whatever you want, but in all levels of hoops, if you have combos, combos with refs, it's not going to hurt, unless you tick the ref off, right? But if they don't think you care and you don't point anything out ever, I mean, you played pretty good high school hoops, then they're just going to leave everything alone.
Yeah,
They're still human beings, right?
Sure.
So if you go to them and you're just like, hey, you're doing a great job, just want to let you know, like, this dude's, he's pinching me every time I go into the lane. He's just pinching me. Then he's going to look, because he's a human being. And if he sees the pinch, he's going to be like, get that guy out of here. It's a weird example, but it happened.
It does. They're both in the wrong there. Put it this way.
Punishment for Estabrook if Buehler has to pay a fine?
He's not going to get a punishment. So
nothing.
We don't have to go down that
There'll
road.
be a combo. There will be a combo. I will tell you this, just from knowing some people that oversee the umps, like Joe Torre for a while, and is it Mike Hill now? They will call him Kratz, and they will say, hey, come on. Now, after that, I don't know, because they have a union too, and that depends on the bylines of what they've got going on. But really, in today's world, if you want to stop that stuff, he's got to get seated and not get paid for a series.
That's a lot. That's a lot. To me, if it's he needs to have a warning. And if it's something that continually happens, then we start sitting. Because, I mean, that's his livelihood, but we can't have umpires escalating the situation. And if you watch all of Cora's mannerisms and everything through that, you saw how much this bullpen needed Buehler to go at least 5 or 6. He was running out there and he's like, oh man, he's like, how can you throw him out like now? And then he's on the bench and he ended up getting their home run celly, making their new home run celly because he freaking ripped the door off the bullpen phone. And the rest of the game, they were just holding up the bullpen phone. And every time somebody hit a homer, they'd tap the bullpen phone. Like it just says bullpen and it's the case on the outside. It was tremendous. It was great theater in Boston.
And kind of button it up, if we're talking about the umpire, they should be talked to about, why didn't he call it a strike? That would be the conversation. And maybe he got blocked, but it looked like he did have a view because it was on the right side of the catchers. But yeah, it made for good fun little game there, and afterwards too with the smack talking. So remember, they got one more game today, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, on IG, Buehler was like, bullpen full of savages, brutal way to come back and horrendous spot to put those boys in, but huge team win. I'll be better. Dub.
Yeah, he owes those guys a little gift or something.
Yeah. But also you want that kind of guy on your team.
Yeah, no doubt. But you also want him to go 5+ and get the win. And they did.
Don't forget how the Dodgers won the World Series last year. Dude wasn't even supposed to pitch, and they were like, he goes, yeah, right. Give me the ball.
Mm-hmm.
How do you not want that guy?
You want him.
Yeah. You want the guy that's on the team bus on the way to the ballpark, telling the manager I want to pitch, texting with the GM, right? He was doing all kinds of things just to try and be like, I am legitimately available. And they're kind of laughing at him. And then later in the game, they're like, all right, yeah, let's go. Take him up on this offer and win a World Series. So you got to love it. That's why he's Walker bleeping Buehler. That's what they say. And lastly, Kratz, to go back to what you're talking about with the celebration, that should be the celebration for them for the rest of the year. I mean, I know they're doing the Wally helmet. This is it. This is like a winning celly. The other one is cute. I think this should be the one. You come back to the dugout, you pound the dugout phone and say, we're going for the jugular today, every day. Do you agree?
Yeah. Because it reminds you, every time you see bullpen, it reminds you that some dudes had to wear it that night. They had to come out and wear it. And it wasn't just, we'll just throw whoever out there. They wore it and Chapman closed it out. So if you're like, I'm grinding on the day game, I'm looking at that bullpen door, that Cora definitely needs to sign. Alex needs to put his signature behind it because he was the one that ripped it off. And that needs to be the celly. It's something that motivates the dudes. Like, all right, well, I'm going to get up because the boys picked us up that one day. It just reminds guys of a hard-fought win against a really good Mets team who's not playing great right now, but still a good team.
Yes. Beautiful thing.
You want that celly?
Something as
you would lead a clubhouse though. Would you say next day?
I'll make boys. There's going to be shirts the next day.
Wally mascot out, shirts, and we're doing the dugout phone from here on out.
There's going to be the manager there, ready to freaking punch a phone that says, what does it say on the top of the phone? Bullpen or whatever it is.
Bullpen. Yeah.
Bullpen. Yeah.
Just bullpen.
Him holding the bullpen ready. There'll be shirts tomorrow. I would have them done tomorrow, and people would be buying them left and right.
Yeah, because this team's been okay. Talking about the Red Sox, they're 25-25. I think most people expected more from them at this point, but you can still see them take off. It's not. They've been okay.
They got Crochet going tonight too, so they'll be just fine.
They're in a good spot. They're 4.5 back of the first place Yankees, but obviously very much involved in a conversation, whether it's for the division or for a wild card. And I think most people expect them to be contending the entire season, which for the Red Sox is actually something that hasn't been the case the last few years. So they're kind of back. They're back at least to contending, which is good. Yep. All right, we'll step aside. We're going to get ready for Eno Sarris to join us to hit a bunch of topics with Eno. Pitching, hitting, we'll go everywhere. Next. Kratz, I'm going to let everyone in on a little secret. I am not a fan of carrying around physical cash. I go Cash App, where you can send, receive, or transfer money with family and friends. It's super easy. They've got your back too. Like if you're trying to send some money and you maybe put in the wrong account name, they'll be like, hey, this is a sketchy account. Are you sure you want to send this? Cash App has your back. They do it safe, securely, easily, and fee-free.
And all you got to do is download the app, and Scott can actually pay for his half of dinner.
Exactly. For a limited time only, new Cash App users can use our exclusive code to earn some additional cash. For real, there's no catch. Download Cash App, sign up. It's very easy, and use our exclusive referral code Territory in your profile. Send $5 to a friend within 14 days, and you'll get $10 dropped right into your account. Terms apply. That's money. That's Cash App. Hey, from the little Buehler Lindor part of things, do you think there's anything to that? Some people in the chat are like, this goes back to last year's NLCS.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Probably a little bit. Oh, yeah.
Lindor was pretty animated. He's like, throw him out.
He did it a little too much, too many times, but whatever. I mean, it makes for a little like, wonder what's going to happen the rest of the way here. So as a fan, you're interested. You're intrigued.
There's another one tonight. Kratz, what do you think?
Here you go.
He looks good right now.
Hey, no, the screen actually looks better now.
Yeah, it looks nice. I actually,
we can hear.
You don't get to see the backdrop there as much, but it's nice.
It's very nice, especially with the weather outside.
This is nice.
Right
You can hear me, but you can't see me. This is the best. I got a face for radio, so this is the best me.
One of my favorite shots is, and you played there, Chatham in the Cape Cod League, and they got the fog rolling in.
The fog
over
delay.
The grass.
I remember we won a championship because the next pitch he called fog delay, and coach went berserk. Or we won the semifinals. Guy hit a ball in the fog. Everybody scored, and the ball was like way over there, and outfielders had no clue. Couldn't even find it on the ground.
Right, you can't find the ball, so it turns into a homer. I've seen I called one of those too, where it's a lazy fly ball to center field, and the center fielder's lost.
What team did you do? Or
Chatham.
All of them? Oh, you were in? All right, so I did Chatham.
Broadcaster for 2 years.
That's awesome. You and
I was there like 2 years after.
Remember a guy named Dan Duva?
So Dan Duva and Guy Benson were the broadcasters when you were there.
Yeah.
And then I was basically right after that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. The more you know. All right, just Todd, Father, and me, and then eventually we'll bring in friends. We'll bring in our friend Kratz, maybe. We'll definitely bring in, Eno Sarris from The Athletic coming up in just a sec. So we'll go over his fresh pitching article, and he also wrote about Juan Soto's swing speed and how that's down quite a bit. I know I mentioned that earlier in the week, and I was like, who wrote that? Because I read too many articles, and most of them are late at night, so I just forget who writes what. And we're like, oh, it's Eno. So we'll bring on Eno coming up in just a sec. Also, later in the show, I didn't mention this yet, but it's worth a mention now. Pete Alonso joining us.
Oh, the polar bear.
Yeah, so we're looking forward to that. But I think we're good. Kratz, everybody here now? Yeah, there we go. All right, Eno Sarris from The Athletic joining us right now. Also can hear him almost daily on Rates and Barrels, which I'm a big fan of. Eno, great to have you on here. I wanted to start with your young pitching article, and obviously, that's the freshest one, so let's start there. What stands out? What are a couple names that we should be keeping an eye on from the national perspective here?
Well, I think Jack Leiter is one of my favorites just because I always fall in love with these guys that have a ton of stuff and not great command. But the reason that I see hope for Jack Leiter is it's kind of a revamped arsenal. Like he's throwing a sinker now and he's starting to really throw the slider like 30% of the time. And those are pitches I think he can command. So I kind of think that that's the way forward for him, is just not necessarily just like try to command the four seam. Maybe he can't. Maybe it's find pitches you can command and throw those more often. And so I think that there's a way forward for him that will kind of capitalize on that draft status and all that upside that he has. there's another guy in Will Warren right now that's kind of putting it together in the way that I'd hoped. This piece is about young pitchers that have stuff and need to figure out how to put it together. Warren's stuff doesn't play as well against lefties. Um, but what we've seen recently is he's throwing a ton of curves and he's not throwing as many fastballs against lefties. And so he's basically just going with a full junk approach against lefties. And I think it's working. All his pitches bend a lot. And as long as he doesn't give the lefties a nice straight one to hit, I think he can get through the lineup a bunch of times. He has a big arsenal. And apparently, new story on The Athletic, Garrett Cole is in his ear telling him how to kind of put it all together. And Clark Schmidt is a similar pitcher. So there are ways for him to kind of learn from the guys around him.
So you wrote a lot. I read this earlier, and I actually kind of went back because there was a lot to unfold here, which is pretty interesting to me. It's the ERA. The guys, this is just incredible. They have good stuff, but the ERA is so much higher than what it should be and what it should show. You talk about the zone here, the waste zone. Tell us a little about what you got on the waste zone and the minus strikeouts, minus walk rate. Go over a little bit of, looking at Jack Leiter as a guy. You talk about his waste zone and the strike minus zone. Give a little bit about that so people can understand where you're talking from.
Yeah, I think as a hitter, you probably remember, non-competitive pitches, pitches that didn't change anything for you. As a hitter, you were just like, that doesn't, I never thought I was going to swing at that, and it doesn't change anything like, it doesn't set anything up because that was just a non-competitive pitch. And that's the waste zone. Those are pitches that are not in the shadow. The shadow is this zone that's around the strike zone that's sort of like, 2 or 3 inches in and out of the strike zone. Those are competitive pitches. That's where you want to be. Jack Leiter's fastball is too often in the waste zone. He's in the bottom fifth of the league when he throws his fastball, in terms of wasting fastballs. Other guys that do it as often as him, Luis Ortiz with the Guardians, Dylan Cease, who doesn't have great four-seam fastball command. Yet he does have success. So, it is about, stuff over command with Jack Leiter, but that's how it kind of plays out, is that you just basically waste pitches that don't do anything, don't further what you're trying to do with the batter. The batter never thinks that they're going to swing at it. And so I think that's a sign that like he needs to look elsewhere for ways to kind of improve. And I think that's why the sinker and the slider is so important. Another thing that we use to kind of predict if pitchers are going to be good or not, one of the most predictive stats is strikeout minus walk rate. And that just works because they're controlling the zone. They're striking guys out. They're not walking guys. That's just really predictive. His is not great there because his walk rate's too high, but I think he's uncovered the way to attack the walk rate in the new arsenal.
Okay, so I was trying to text Al Leiter all this stuff. You're gonna have to, after the show, we'll talk a little bit more. Okay, you and me.
All right. Yeah, he's got good people in his ear, and it's been a lot of work. And I think that he's really simplified his delivery. I think the next part is identifying the pitches he can command best and using those the most.
I want to ask you about one more pitcher, then we'll get to the bat speed conversation. Shane Baz, ERA not pretty, stuff plus results look really good. So what's happening here?
I think one of the things that I've tried to put into the model, the stuff plus model to make it more predictive, it hasn't worked yet, but I think I use it in my analysis, which is how many pitches do you have? And Shane is largely a 2-pitch pitcher in the fastball and curve. When he throws the slider, he throws it middle. And so, I think as a hitter, you can kind of pigeonhole a guy. You can keyhole a guy. If he's just 4 seams high and curveballs low, then you kind of have this, if it's high, let it fly philosophy. And you don't really have to cover the whole plate. And so Shane Baz, the fastball looks good in a vacuum. The curveball looks good in a vacuum. He needs something else. Like the slider goes middle, and it's getting beat up right now. It's got like an OPS over 1,300 against his slider. It's not really the solution. I think a sinker could help, maybe a cutter. something that he can throw that isn't just the four seam and the curveball. This is something you could maybe do on the fly. I'm sure he's thrown a sinker before and he's thrown a cutter before, and it's possible for him to kind of break that out. But just being four seam curveball, what you see is when you have just two pitches like that, they put so much pressure on them being elite. Think about Spencer Strider. He had to be so good at the four seam and the slider when he only had two pitches that that worked for him. But there are other guys where if you're just not as good at one of those pitches, then batters are like, that's the one I want. I'm going to wait till I get that one. And at 50% of the time, I'm going to get that one. So I think he needs to diversify his arsenal and spread it out a little bit.
You wrote an article about Juan Soto and his bat speed diminishing a little bit, and you wrote, is it a big deal? Is it not? It looks like 2.6 miles per hour on the average down for him. Is it that big of a deal, or are we looking too much into this?
Well, when a lot of these new bat speed numbers that have come out, we've just got, stuff about attack angle and tilt, and all these new numbers are out of Savant. And one of the things that is not obvious right away is that these are timing stats. So they measure bat speed at the point of contact. Now, let's say you have a really long swing, like Giancarlo Stanton or Javi Baez, then you're going to have more bat speed because you've had longer of a swing to get to that point. So if you get the ball out in front and you have a long swing, your bat speed's automatically going to be higher. What we're seeing from Soto is, I think last year with Yankee Stadium, he saw that left field. He went and got the ball. His point of contact was out in front of his body more than it ever had been. His swing was longer. And so his bat speed was higher just because he was getting the ball out in front and it was being measured at a different point. On the other hand, even if you account for those things, his swing is a little bit slower this year. And it really started out like terribly and has gotten a little bit better since, but he still hasn't gotten back to where he was last year. So the way I look at it is he's still elite with the eye. He's still amazing with the eye, and that's going to make him age really well. Think about how well Joey Votto aged and how his eye kept him productive even as he was getting older. So having a great eye is a really good thing to bet on long term. But I don't think we're going to see the 40 homer Juan Soto again, unless this bat speeds kind of returns, because the upper end power, the home run swings, they come on faster swings. It's like you get twice as many homers on 73 and 74 mile an hour swings than you get on 70 mile an hour swings. And so it does mean something that he's lost bat speed. It probably means he's lost that sort of elite upper end power. But can he hit 32, 34 homers this year, have a OBP of like 420 and be one of the best hitters in the game? Yeah, I think he still can be.
Okay, so I want to try and take what Eno said and then bring it to you, right?
Okay.
Because part of what he said is, hey, I mean, the longer swing does give you more leverage to bring your bat down and
Yep.
have more bat speed. So if you're Soto and you're listening to this stuff, or let's say it's you, right?
Yeah.
You were Soto. You last year hit 40. This year you're on pace for like 22.
Mm.
A lot of the other numbers, at least, the front-facing stats, batting average, on base, whatever, look pretty similar, but your power's not the same. Would you take any of this and say, hey, let me work on lengthening? Because sometimes you're like, this guy swings too long. So how do we solve this?
Oh, I wouldn't say lengthening. I would say shorten up. I would say there's an opportunity. Maybe don't go too far down on the bat. Maybe choke up a little bit. Practicing on keeping your hands inside the ball a little more. I always did a drill where I have a tee close to the home plate. If I got long before I hit the ball, I'm going to hit that tee. So you bring the tee pretty much a bat's length away of your bat, and you try and stay short and sweet to the ball, and hopefully that translates to the game. There's a lot of drills you can do, but it's a matter of getting rest, eating right, get in the weight room as much as you can, and being a professional. At this point, it's hard to do. And then the pressures, sometimes it's up here too as well.
Yeah. And there were other guys, on your list too. So anybody else stand out? I mean, I saw the only guy who's had a bigger drop off is Josh Naylor. And I'm like, I feel like Josh Naylor's having a decent season.
Yeah.
And I look him up. I'm like, yeah, he's having a pretty good year results wise. So is there anything to that story?
Yeah, there is a correlation between bat speed and swing and miss. And so, while it can be not great for your upper end power numbers to lose bat speed. It can mean more contact. Lindor's having a fine beginning of the season. Shea Langeliers has cut his strikeout rate from above, like, worse than average to like a really good number. I think he's at like 16% strikeout. It's like almost a breakout for Shea Langeliers. But one thing you'll notice is that Shea Langeliers was in elite territory, and now he's in above average territory. So it's not dropping off in a way that, so it's a little bit more worrisome for like Andrew McCutchen, who went from pretty good bat speed to now below average bat speed. And for Naylor, I think if he's always had like this good contact for a power hitter, maybe it's fine for him. So the thing that's so hard about these numbers is that there is no like one number that's like, that is good and this is bad. I will just say that when you talk about like hitting a ball 120 miles an hour, like Giancarlo Stanton does, what do you have to do to hit the ball 120 miles an hour? You have to swing the bat 75 miles an hour, and so there is a relationship between the top end power. Now, Colton Cowser last year actually started swinging a heavier bat, and it slowed his bat down a little bit, and that left him in the zone longer, and it cut down some of his swing and miss, and that was good for him because he was swinging and missing too much. So there's like this relationship between how much contact you make and how much power you make that you can play around with. And, those drills are a great way. Like, by the way, like choking up on the bat increases bat speed for sure. And, why do those people have those hockey pucks on the bottom? It's about changing the relationship of the weight on your bat to speed your bat up. Now, putting a hockey puck on the bottom will speed your bat up, but it'll put less mass at the point of contact. Like the torpedo bats are all about putting more mass at the point of contact. So we're sciencing this stuff up and we're learning about it. In the public, I think we're 3 or 4 years behind what teams know. But, it is, first of all, it's not easy to just say this number good, this number bad. And then lastly, a lot of this stuff is about timing. If you think about the swing, it's flat through the zone and then it comes up because that everybody finishes up. That's why it's good to get the ball out in front for power, because you're flat through the zone and then you kind of come up on the ball out in front. Homers, 90% of homers are hit out in front of the plate. And so, that's a timing issue too. So there you have more bat speed when you're out there because you've had more time to get there. So I mean, I know it sounds confusing, but bat speed is good for power, bad for contact. And, some guys can cut down on bat speed and it's be good for them. But generally, it cuts down on your upside for hitting the ball super, super hard.
Is an opposite field swing. When I say opposite field, I don't mean a pitch away. They have to hit it away. Is an opposite field swing generally across the board a slower swing than a swing that is pulled?
See, yes, in the way it's measured.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
But I don't think it is. Like, we need to come up with some sort of acceleration number, some sort of number that gives us bat speed where that's not true. But the way it is now, yes, an opposite field swing will register less because the point of contact is deeper, and so your bat hasn't had as much time to get up to full speed.
Okay. So I want to spin this to, a global perspective, right? I think we got pretty granular on bat speed. Like, what should, I don't want to say just like a little league or just play ball, but what should an aspiring pro be doing with data like this? And really just observing how major league hitters are treating data like this, right? Whether you're a college player or a super competitive prospect in high school, minor leaguer, do you think there's pros and cons here, even to the injury component, right? I mean, we're in a world for the past, 10, 15 years now, where velocity gets ruled over almost anything and has certainly led to more injuries. Could we see something like that occur if guys are doing too much to try and increase bat speed?
Yeah, I mean, I do think that's a risk. You have somebody like Tristan Casas, turning so fast that he has like a cartilage injury that they said was like a car crash inside his ribs. Like, I'm not singling him out. I'm just saying he turns really super fast, and it led to an injury. Obliques are, I think there's year over year just more and more oblique injuries among hitters and pitchers as they turn super fast to throw the ball hard and to hit the ball hard. It is a risk. It is a turning sport where we're pushing our pitchers and hitters to turn as fast as possible, as fast as the human body can, and we're gonna get injuries. But I would tell that a young hitter that it is similar to pitching in that if you want to play in the big leagues, you gotta be able to swing the bat at least 70 miles an hour. It's like if you want to pitch in the big leagues, you gotta be able to throw the ball at least 93 miles an hour. 90. I mean, if you want to get drafted in the first round, you got to throw it 96, 97. And so I would say that bat speed matters, but I think it's also like pitch speed, where it's like build the engine and then be able to get good bat speed without cheating to get it. Like, you don't have to like fly open and just pull that bat through just to make the number go big. Do it within your mechanics. Do it if you're a pitcher, do it with good mechanics. Do it so that you can throw easy cheese. Like, do the same thing when you're hitting. Be able to swing the bat really fast in a controlled way that still allows you to make contact. But realize the guys in the pros swing the bat faster than the guys in college swing the bat faster than the guys in high school. And if you want to advance, you got to have the bat speed.
One more real quick, because I'm fascinated by this stuff. I feel like there's a conversation like this right now with max exit velocity, right? Like, how hard can this guy hit the ball? I mean, EV, but also max EV, right? Have you seen that?
And young
already
hitters really track that.
They
Yes,
do,
young hitters
right?
really
Like,
track
what's
that.
my ceiling?
Yeah.
But why do they track that? Is it because front offices
That's your
focus
raw
on
power.
something like that? Yeah, that's your
That's
raw
basically
pop.
your raw power. So if I just talked to Jordan Lawler and I was like, you hit a ball hard, and he's like 111. I know. It was like, and he's like, knew exactly what ball I was talking about, and it was the best ball he'd hit. And that changes his upside from, if he's hitting 109 miles an hour at his best, then he's probably like, you judge him as like a 15 to 18 homer hitter. But if he hits the ball at 111, maybe 22, maybe 23, So it describes your raw power. And it's really linked to that. Now there are guys like Brian Hayes who have hit the ball really hard, but not ever been able to lift it. And that's why I make the distinction between raw power and game power. There are guys who don't hit the ball as hard as Giancarlo Stanton, but hit a lot of homers because they get to that. They get to it well. They hit the ball hard in the right angles. But you hit a ball 115 on the backfields, everybody notices. Everybody notices. Everybody writes that down. Every scout notices.
And then there's Chandler Simpson and Jacob Wilson and some of these outliers, right? I basically, because I'm sure you like these guys too. I'm just trying to make sure that we don't lose those guys. I'm not trying to be like, oh, I'm so old school, but it is fun to have some of these contact kings within our sport to give it variety.
I love them, and it's crazy that like Freddie Freeman is one of them. Luis Arias, they have really short swings and slow swings by the stats. But I would point out they still swing at 68. So the bar for entry is still around 70 miles an hour for the pros, even the guys who swing it slow. But what they do is they prioritize getting to the ball very quickly and making contact, as opposed to maybe having a bit of a longer swing, having faster bat at contact, and hitting the ball further. And I love that. I mean, the more ways there are to be a good baseball player, the better I think the sport is.
Yes, better product coming from someone on the outside who just wants to watch fun and be entertained. Yeah, better product if we have a lot of variety. This was great. Thank you. Check out Eno's article. Obviously, we only got to a couple of pictures. Go read the article in The Athletic for the rest. Appreciate the time, man. Good to see you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. All right, FT fam, be right back. We're going to talk to Grant McAuley about the Braves getting Strider back and hopefully Acuña soon.
Scott, you need to check out this Rowback hoodie I have. It's 85 plus degrees here in Florida. Look, lightweight, feels great, cool colors, perfect for those hot Florida days.
I agree, AJ. Color looks fire. And you can get your own sweatshirt, polo, hoodie. Go check out Rowback. And if you do and you're a first-time customer, Rhoback.com. Using the code FOUL gets you 20% off your first purchase. RHOBACK.com. Code FOUL. Get after it, FT fam. Kratz, any thoughts on some of the bat speed stuff?
I mean, it's hard. That's something that's super hard for me to compare to when I played, because they had the blast motion in 16 when I got to the Astros, and then I saw it. Some teams started implementing it or using it in like 18, 19. And that information was kind of demoralizing to me. It was like, I get it. I'm a 200 hitter in the big leagues, but like, I feel like I'm a pretty good player. I feel like I can play. But then you put that stuff on and I'm like, ugh, maybe I shouldn't give them any more information. So I was always just interested in knowing they're just getting the information. They're gathering it, but how are teams implementing it? How are players implementing it? I want to ask Eno, like a guy like Mookie lost that 15, 20 pounds, and he's talked about he wants to get his bat speed back up. Then he always talks about, there are all these charts. They always talk about dudes are aging, and that's what happens. Your bat speed goes down. So then how do guys continue to play, continue to have power? I had the same amount of power as I had when I was 22 in the game. So I don't know. I don't know how to implement the bat speed, and that's why I had so many questions.
Is it fair to say that some, maybe you're like a top prospect or just like one of those naturals, and then you can actually look at that and make tweaks? You know what I'm saying? No?
Maybe. I just don't want to see a kid get on there and have a 64 mile an hour bat speed and be like, well, you have no chance of making the big leagues. Like, Eno kind of said it there, and you're like, maybe, like, it's not like, I don't know. I mean, he says there's a direct correlation, but it's not like everybody has a chance to be able to improve at things. And I just don't want it to be just a definite, nah, you can't do it.
And I want more Chandler Simpsons, and he doesn't hit those metrics. Grant McAuley covers the Braves for 92.9 The Game, hosted from the Diamond, among many other gigs all over the Braves scene. Back with us. Grant, we love having you on. Thanks for the time. Give us the goods first on Spencer Strider. So he's back and had very, I would say, candid words about how he was pissed about his first start back in his second start of the year and second start since the long surgery. So where are we at with him?
Yeah, I think this is going to be a matter of, in some respects, knocking the rust off. And it's kind of a shame that he worked so hard for a calendar year to get himself back, only to land on the injured list with a separate malady that caused him to sit around. And I say that loosely because obviously he was still working over that time for another month. So I think he's going to kind of have to get back to where he was before the hamstring and then find his way to make his incremental improvements. But there is no two ways about the fact that this is one of the most competitive pitchers, players, I think maybe in any sport for that matter. And he's very candid and he's very direct about his expectations for himself and what he wants to provide to the Atlanta Braves. So I think you heard some of that or read some of that after last night's start. It's kind of a journey throughout the course of coming back from an injury like this to get back to where he wants to get to. But if hard work and talent combined the way that they have for Spencer Strider in the past, I would think that he's going to find his way there. It just might take a little while.
Yeah, and I agree totally with you. This guy's an absolute stud. He's been doing it for a couple of years now. Now, my question along those lines are, how does his teammates perceive him? I mean, he talks this, big thing about, not doing well, which I think is courageous. I think is honesty. I love honesty. Like, how do his teammates take him? And they got to be happy as a clam right now having him back.
No doubt about it. And I actually heard Matt Olson say after a game on the recent homestand, or the recent road trip rather, that he's one of the leaders of this club. And I think that it's easy to see and easy to understand why, because of who he is and how he approaches the game on and off the field. He has a tremendous respect, I think, for his opportunity and his job each and every time he takes the ball. And that's one of the things that I think makes him so authentic. And I think we all like authenticity. And Spencer Strider is one of those people that doesn't come around too incredibly often. So it's tremendous to have him back in there. But obviously, he knows he wants to get himself back to that level physically where he's able to impact the game the way that he's used to doing prior to this most recent elbow surgery.
I think this next streak they have going along here, they got after Washington here, they got San Diego, Philly, and Boston. I feel like this is going to, in my opinion, prove to be where they're at right now during the season. Not saying if they do bad, they're not going to climb back. But this is a big series coming up. Where do you see this Braves team? They're 500 right now. Where do you see this going?
Yeah, and how hard was it to get to 500 when you start the season 0-7? So I think they probably felt behind the eight ball a little bit early on, but were able to keep the confidence that it is a long season, it's a marathon, and that once they were able to get back to some version of full strength, which obviously we can talk about how Ronald Acuña Jr. could factor into that, they were going to play the kind of baseball they expect to. And since starting out 5-13, they pretty much have played at about a 600 clip. That will punch your ticket to the postseason, even if you've had a less than stellar start. And that ultimately is their big goal. But you're going to have to test yourself against the kinds of teams that you're going to see there. They know all about the Padres and the Phillies and clubs like that, especially the last 3 years in October. So even if nobody's looking at it and saying it is, to your point, the end-all be-all, you'd like to measure yourself up against the best and feel like you're on the right path. And I think the Braves have been, but this will be the latest test to kind of see where this version of the Braves is at this point in the season.
Obviously, they don't want to be 500, but they're happy that they're 500 right now based on how it started. But back to Strider, how long do you think the org can continue to lean on him, or how long do you think the org feels like they're fine with some diminished velocity? You saw him get hurt yesterday by breaking balls that you're like, normally those breaking balls are not the ones he's throwing in those locations. And then he got hurt by 95 by Dylan Cruz. He looked more mortal. So how long can the org say, hey, you know what? We know we're not going to get 100% Strider for the first however many starts, but how long is that for the Braves?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think as long as he's competitive and keeping them in games, he will continue to get the opportunity to make those improvements and to get back to where he is. But obviously, to the point of everything that everybody's doing all year long, you want to win. And that's not lost on Spencer Strider either, which is why I think those comments last night, particularly referencing, look, they had to send Bryce Elder out for me to get this chance, and I'm not pitching well. And if I don't pitch well, I don't deserve to be out there. So with that as the backdrop of all of this, if those candid comments are to be taken at face value, which I have no reason to believe they're not, he understands what's at stake if he's not able to make these adjustments. Now, are the days of 97, 98 continually in the zone and this fastball slider behind him? I don't know if I'm prepared to say that, because I think that Spencer wanted to make some improvements to his arsenal that allowed him to be able to be a true pitcher and to have that finesse and to be able to have options to keep hitters off of certain pitches and just evolve, I guess. But at some point, I think you got to go with what works. And he said this before. I talked to him last spring when the curveball was the big conversation. Look, I'm a fastball slider pitcher. I know that, but I do like to have other options. And I think he's trying to work on some of those. But back to the main point, you've got to be able to compete with your best stuff. And I think that Spencer Strider is not quite there in terms of his absolute best and most consistent fastball for sure.
Okay. First, I need to ask a question to set up my next question. It's just yes or no. Okay. Ronald Acuña will not be an MVP caliber player right when he gets back.
I'm going to say no.
Okay, that's fine. And that's fine. I'm not going to hold you to it. If he does awesome, great. Not expecting 70 bags, 1 million homers, all that stuff yet. With Matt Olson just hitting his 10th home run, I think, last night, is he the biggest key, or is Austin Riley the biggest key in this lineup moving forward the rest of the season?
I think moving forward the rest of the season, if we're putting Acuña over off into his own special category, that Matt Olson is probably the most important X factor outside of that. I think we've seen what we need to see from Austin Riley, but I would probably put those guys in a dead heat, a 1A, 1B kind of scenario, if you're talking about the importance of stacking this lineup to do the kind of damage the Braves are accustomed to. But keep in mind what Matt Olson was a couple of years ago, a 50-plus homer hitter who can drive in 140 runs. If that's the ceiling, and maybe it's the outlier, it's still not crazy to think that he can do 75% of that, which would make him, by my simple math here, a 40 homer hitter who could knock in 110 or 120 runs. And that is most definitely what the Braves need. But to drive in those kind of runs, how about having Acuña back at the top of the order? Even if he's not the MVP for his career, per 162, Ronald has averaged 130 runs scored. That's what they need at the top of the order because their leadoff men are on basing about 270 thus far this year. And Ronald is a marked improvement to that. And I think that makes Olsen better, Riley better, Ozuna better, and on down the list.
Has Nick Allen filled in admirably or just filled in for this Braves team?
I think he's filled in admirably. Defensively speaking, he has been above and beyond, I think, anybody's realistic expectations. Even if you kind of knew maybe he was a glove-first infielder, the plays that he makes, the setup that he has, the instincts that he has, I mean, it's been very, very impressive. And he's not going to hit a ton. I think we've kind of seen, what we saw coming in. Maybe there's not much there, though his minor league numbers were encouraging that maybe there was a little something, but I think if the rest of this lineup is hitting, you're pretty happy with what you're getting defensively. But to go back to the conversation of the winter and really since Dansby Swanson left, are the Braves settled at shortstop? I'm not convinced of that.
Still a lot of question marks, and we're 48 games in, man. We're getting there. It seems like the year is flying right by. My question to you is, I know it's a little far away, but can you see this team during the trade deadline do something here, especially if they're a few games out, or is this a team right now? It's like we'll see where we go. Hopefully, we get everybody back after injuries.
I feel like they're set up to do something at the trade deadline, and there's almost more pressure to do so because they weren't able to accomplish their winter goals. I mean, in no version of the script would I say, well, the Braves looked at their pitching staff and thought they didn't need anything. I think they would have liked to have gotten another high leverage reliever, which was only exacerbated when Joe Jimenez could be out for the year. And I think they would have liked to have added somebody to fortify the rotation and really give them that standout group. So I think that those are still areas that they're going to go out and shop for. Now, getting Strider back and hopefully finding his form again, which is a big part of his return, is an impact arm. There's no question about that. Getting Acuña back, I mean, what club wouldn't like to be looking at players like that and welcoming those guys back in for the run through the dog days of summer and beyond the trade deadline and all the things that are ahead. So I think that they are poised to do something at the trade deadline. And I've heard Alex Anthopoulos talk about it, the math for them, how they look at the luxury tax. And when you get to the trade deadline, you're really only talking about having to pay for a third of that player's salary for the year. So I think that could make them a very intriguing team out there lurking for some big names and some big ads when the trade deadline does get here. And to be frank, they might need them.
Does Craig Kimbrell get more or less than 5 saves on this season for the Atlanta Braves?
I'm going to say less because I do think Raisel Iglesias is capable of figuring it out. So it's kind of out of Craig Kimbrell's hands. Now, he's been trending better in AAA Gwinnett. I think the velocity is finally starting to tick up. He's starting to make back-to-back appearances. I think he could be a factor. I mean, you look at that resume, how could you overlook him or underestimate him? But there were some serious questions at the end of last year about his ability to be that guy in the 9th inning for the final 3 outs, which is a crazy thing to say about someone who's 5th all-time in saves. But I still think it's Iglesias' job to lose. I don't think we've seen the best version of Raisel Iglesias, and I think that those adjustments can and will be made. And the Braves very much need them to, because they don't need one more question on top of everything else, which is who's going to get the last 3 outs for us.
Grant, tell me where we're at with Raisel. I mean, he's still pretty consistently giving up runs. I mean, I'm not seeing even in the past, 5-6 appearances now, a lot of clean outings. The ERA is close to 6. What are you seeing, right? I don't see every single appearance. What are you seeing, and why do you think that it can be fixed?
His home run rate, I believe, should normalize. I mean, he's not going to give up 18 or 20 home runs this year, and the Braves certainly aren't going to allow that to happen in the 9th inning, most certainly. So they're going to have to sort that out, and that's the adjustment I think he has to make, because last year he allowed 4 homers in roughly 70 innings. He's already allowed, I believe, half a dozen in 20 or thereabouts innings this year, so that rate is off the charts. But he's looked better, I feel like, over the past week or two. He was used infrequently early on. I don't know if that might have kind of gotten him a little bit out of the norm coming out of spring training because he didn't have save opportunities there for about 2 weeks. So that could be part of it, but the stuff's still there. I think he's just made some mistakes. He's hung some pitches and he hasn't been able to get away with those mistakes. But I haven't noticed anything that makes me feel like Raisel Iglesias looks like a shell of himself or that he's just doesn't have it. I think he's just got to make those adjustments. The Braves believe he can and he will. But as we all know, Father Time is undefeated, and closers, relievers. I mean, it's volatile. Like, you just don't have guys that never run into a bad patch or a bad time in their career where they maybe get taken out of that leverage position. That being said, that would be the most unideal thing to happen, I think, in the Braves bullpen as it's currently constructed.
And the confidence flow of that position, right? I mean, yesterday we spoke to Pap about it. It's like, even if you're unlucky, but it happens a few times in a row, things can spiral.
Yeah, in your brain.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. But Grant, always great insight. Great to have you on. Everyone watching here, if you don't already, give Grant a follow. You can see everything that he's doing. But on Twitter, it's just his name, first and last, Grant McAuley. Thank you, Grant. Good to see you.
Thanks, guys.
All right, FT fam, coming right back with after showing you Hammer Territory, and that you can find it wherever you get your pods and on YouTube. And they've spoken to Grant and Hammer Territory, good friends. Grant's been on the show there. So much more Braves coverage. It's a big week for them, of course, with Strider back and hopefully back for good, like Grant mentioned, among other topics, including Acuña's looming return. Okay, coming up next, a loaded That's What He Said. Mike Elias has come out of hiding to talk about firing his skipper. Paul Skenes trade update, squash it, and Luis Robert Jr. wouldn't trade himself. Hey, by the way, I just saw this news popping up over online now. Dan Wilson, manager of the Mariners, who playing pretty well so far this year, he announces Thursday, which is tomorrow, George Kirby pitching.
Oh, man.
I feel like that stuck up on me.
It snuck up on me too.
Okay, good. Thank you. I feel like I'm kind of locked in enough, but then I'm like, well, you know what? Maybe it's 3-hour delay, my news feed, all that stuff. I didn't see it coming. I thought it was going to be the beginning of June.
Here we go, baby.
Here we go. Love it. It's
so
a good Mariner team.
Yeah, the Mariners will finish up one more against the White Sox today, right? They're playing, I think, coming up in like 20 minutes. They lost yesterday, by the way. But, hey, whatever. I'll give them credit. They won the day before. They swept the Padres. They destroyed the Padres this past weekend.
I didn't see that coming.
They swept them good. But then this will be a good series coming up for the extended weekend. You've got Kirby against McCullers on Thursday. It's fun for the names and the Kirby return. McCullers recently back. Emerson Hancock against Ryan Gusto on Friday. More of two prove-it guys.
Yep. And
then Saturday is Brian Wu against Framber Valdez. That's good stuff right there. And they play Sunday. Castillo is scheduled for the Mariners. I'm not sure if they have a TBD for the Astros. But, hey, this helps. This is good timing, Kratz, to get Kirby back, not just for the rotation, but for the bullpen, too. I mean, obviously, they'll ease him back in. I said baby. But eventually, it'll be helpful for the bullpen.
Kirby's a guy that can get all the punch outs, or he can go innings. Sometimes he goes innings and the punch outs.
And
so
punches. Be ready.
It's a good one. It's a good one.
Yeah, I'm a big fan.
The Angels are 3.5 out behind the Mariners right now. Division is shaping up.
They can't lose. I mean, I'm with you. I'm not a believer. But they're 22-25. We were like, oh, the A's, they look kind of good. The A's are 22-27. They're two worse in the loss column after falling again yesterday and blowing up my bet.
Yeah, your bets are tough.
Yeah, they're tough. They're tough. I'm not the same. But the Angels did sweep the Dodgers in LA, in real LA, not in Anaheim. Yeah. Anyway, all right, we're coming back in about 30 seconds for a loaded That's What He Said. We have found Mike Elias, the leader of the Orioles front office, ... for now.
Yeah, that's what he said.
That's what he said.
That's what he said.
That's what he said.
We were waiting for a That's What He Said on the Orioles front office leader for not 1, not 2, but 3 days after he fires manager Brandon Hyde, who some thought would be the guy to lead the Orioles to a World Series title, or at least be a big part of this franchise for a long time. Got players in tears in the clubhouse after that went down. I'm sure many of them feel responsible, but also that Hyde should be the manager of this team, and he probably will be a successful manager with someone else.
Sure.
But let's get to biz here. So the question was asked to Elias on why he waited 3 days to speak publicly about Hyde's dismissal. The quote, "It's a pretty hectic few days," got Tony, as in Mansolino, the interim manager, in place and traveled up here with the team and just needed a couple days. Jacob Calvin-Meyer, who's been on this show, covers the Orioles on a daily basis, said Mike Elias's players were not given that same privilege of a few days. Half of the clubhouse spoke on Saturday, right? And Elias didn't speak until Tuesday. The first player that had to speak was a 21-year-old, as in Jackson Holiday. Others had to hold back tears. These are the same players who have mics in their face minutes after blowing a save or striking out to end a game. Really well-worded tweet in my mind to say, you've done this. After a game, you're there, right? You always showed up, you're accountable.
Sure.
We don't ask for the GMs to talk all the time, but when they do something like this, they need to be available pretty quickly to explain it so that it doesn't fall on you. Imagine for 3 days, you've got to be in the clubhouse getting asked about why Hyde's gone and how things are different and whatever, not to mention they lost all 3 games.
Yeah. I mean,
would you be pissed if you're a player?
Yeah, I a little disappointed. I mean,
just a little.
The disappointment would be that he needed to take a couple of days. Hearing that, if he didn't say anything, listen, they're businessmen. At the end of the day, they do whatever the heck they want. If I'm worried about what he's going to say or what he's not going to say or where the heck he is, then I'm not focused on the task at hand. So yeah, maybe you're like, oh, where the heck did he go? But for him to say I need a couple of days off, that would be like, okay, wow, okay. What do you want to say?
10 minutes is all it takes, right? Yeah. Everybody can put 10 minutes together, and this should be one of your top responsibilities. Like, you make the move, you get everything in place.
A guy. You should be speaking on
the time. Well, because obviously for you're going to be like, hey, whatever. I mean, that's his thing. He's going to talk when he talks. My only thing is, like, you played in New York, they're going to be mics in your face every day.
Oh,
and you're, I know what you'd say. Like, I mean, ask the GM. It was his move. And then I'm going to say back, yeah, he's not available, Todd.
That's very interesting.
Exactly. Like, he won't talk yet. He's hiding. Have you seen him?
Yeah, no. I'm looking at one of the quotes. He said how confident he is in his own ability to lead here. I'll read it verbatim. Mike Elias said, I've had a lot of success, I believe, in my career, and I think that we did a really strong job in building up this franchise. This is deeply disappointing to me, and I'm doing everything to power to correct and improve it. How long has he been there for? Do we know off top hand?
I think it was 2019 or 20. What is it, 6 years?
So
perhaps?
He's only been there for 6 years? I mean, I've had a lot of success. That's the first words he said.
He took over a tanking team, so you get all the draft picks, all the good stuff, right?
Right. Have they won a championship?
Have they won a playoff game?
Have they won a playoff game?
He had a lot of success with the Astros.
Yeah, okay.
But that was a while ago.
He's had that success here.
Yeah.
I mean, so what are we doing? They shouldn't. Go ahead, Kratzy.
No. Can I give a different view of this? And I know we rip on Mike Elias for the moves that he's made, the way he spent the money, that ownership. Does it feel like some of the things that have gone down in the last few days, whether they're out of character for him or not, does it feel like he was pressured to get rid of Brandon Hyde? Do we feel like he didn't want to get rid of Brandon Hyde and yet he had to? Ownership was pushing it because I think sometimes public sentiment is different than actual good decisions. And I'm not saying he's made all the right decisions, but he's kind of on the defense saying, I've done a lot of really good things, saying, hey, you know what? Why am I going to come out and say anything these first few days here when I'm not the one that made this decision? Maybe ownership will step up and say something. I don't know. Maybe I'm totally off base. Maybe it's something that he sees himself going out the door and he's like, you know what? Maybe I don't need to put my name on the fact that we shouldn't have fired the manager that every player likes.
And was a good soldier, right? I mean, Jackson Holiday actually has had pretty good numbers for the year at the plate so far. At least if you're going off weighted stats like OPS plus. I mean, he's sat a lot. There's a lot of platoon action that goes on with the team. Where does that usually come from?
The brass.
The brass, right? And you have to work with them and be like, okay, I'm going to do that, right? He was a good soldier and well-liked by the players. I mean, I think everybody that has a pulse on the team knows that this had almost nothing to do with Brandon Hyde. Brandon Hyde was not going to fix the starting staff. He wasn't going to fix most things with what was going on the field, Kratz. Yeah. But do we now live in a world where you cannot do nothing when your season's done and you're in the thick of your winning window? You did the tanking for a long time. You had 2 pretty good seasons in the last 2 years. Neither of them came up with a playoff appearance, though. And now you're one of the worst teams in baseball, and you're going to be selling at the deadline, right? They're not going to be the ultimate comeback story. So with all that being said, you have to do something. And what else can you do? I'm saying public pressure and ownership pressure nowadays is they weren't going to ride this whole season out doing nothing. I agree with what you say. I think he probably didn't want to let him go. If it was me, I wouldn't want to let him go either. But if I'm the GM, I would potentially look at firing myself because I'm the one that messed up.
Yeah, but people aren't going to do that. But in my opinion, ownership's not going to. Yeah, I mean, ownership that would. I think ownership would say, "Look, we gave you $75 million added on Kyle Gibson, so $75 million to spend this offseason. You didn't spend it very well. You have to go and fire the manager because." Whether you think he is the one, I'd like to fire you, but we can't because that it would set a precedent that I don't know that teams have ever seen, let alone an ownership group that is, I mean, they have brand new carpet in their offices. Like they just moved in. They're super new on the scene here and they expected a lot more with what they invested into this team this year.
Can I finish it with this? They had all these prospects, man. They had prospects, and we talked about it for the last couple of years. He didn't do anything with them. He didn't do anything. He didn't trade up to get some big name. You got Corbin Burns for a little bit, right? But you had guys to give out. They had no space to play on your squad. Why didn't you make a big trade for a big name or something? I said it over and over. Get rid of some of these guys, man. They're prospects. And that's the big disappointment I have in the squad because they could have got 2 or 3 guys that could be sitting pretty for the Orioles right now, and they wouldn't be in this scenario.
And if you wait too long, those prospects lose value, right?
They become suspects.
Yeah, and what happened was Connor Norby and Kyle Sowers got traded for at least what appears at the moment to be really a broken arm in Trevor Rogers. So you gave away 2 guys that actually should have gotten more of an opportunity and didn't, and their trade value went down based on their age and them being perceived as quad A players, even though now they're not. Yeah. They just needed a lane. So, all right, let's step aside. We'll get to more of these topics coming up next. And then soon, Pete Alonso will join us. We could throw this one out there now because I don't think there's a ton to it, but John Heyman tweeted this morning, Pirates source, Paul Skenes is not getting traded. Quote, no chance, no way, no how is the way I heard it. While there's a bit of logic to such a scenario, superstars just aren't traded by anyone with 1 year service time, and the Pirates remain determined to build around Skenes. This is what I've been saying all along is, sure, could he get traded? Yes. Now? It's so early. You're not going to let this go for at least a couple more years. I mean, Artie Moreno wouldn't even trade Shohei Ohtani with 2 months of him left to spare, right? He is a money machine. Skenes on Skenes Day is a money machine. even with the Pirates being bad, you at least get a little bit more. You can sell sponsorships around him, Kratz. He's not stupid. Bob Nutting's not going to trade him with 4 or 5 years left. With 2 years left and a different GM maybe saying this could change everything for us, sure. Now? No.
Look at the haul. Look at the haul that the Nationals got for Juan Soto. They're calling up. Shoot, I'm forgetting his name. They're calling him up soon. He's like the 4th piece of that. Of the Juan Soto haul.
Jarlin or Susanna? You're talking about the Nats?
Yeah, Nats.
Robert
Anyway,
Hassel.
it doesn't matter.
Robert Hassel.
There's Hassel,
Robert
Susanna.
Hassel.
Yeah, Hassel and Susanna's good. And Hassel, and then obviously Wood and Abrams are nice returns.
You're talking about 4 pieces. Don't forget Mackenzie Gore's in there too. Like, you're talking about 4 pieces that are now on a big league team. If you say the Nationals are kind of moving in that direction, if you're the Pirates, what could you get for a Paul Skenes? To me, there's no way, no how. You're not spending money. You're looking to make money off of this guy. So this, to me, if they don't ever even think about trading him, think about getting an absolute haul for him, because Jared Jones just went down. Now you don't have another piece of that rotation. You sit there and you go, they really don't want to win. Like you proved to us, they don't want to win. You don't need an ace of your staff for 3 years of non-contention.
It's just too early. That's my thing. I get it, but even in a year or two, you can still wipe out the top half of a farm system if he looks this good. Now, he's got to stay healthy, but it's just too early.
They have to think outside the box. They do.
Good luck with that guy running ship. All right, we're back. Let's get to more. That's what he said. Let's go to Luis Robert. Through an interpreter, he said, right now, as my season is going, I don't think anybody is going to take a chance on me. I just focus on trying to get better. I can't think of anything else. I mean, he's a sub 200 batting average, sub 300 on base, just a hair over 300 on his slugging percentage. You're kind of like, damn, what happened? This was a really fun player to watch. He's had trouble staying on the field, but it's like Space Jam.
Yeah.
Someone took his powers.
Yeah, listen, I'm not a big fan of the quote. I feel like he's kind of thrown in the towel here. How about saying, hey, listen, I know I'm struggling, but I'm one at bat away from getting my mind right and getting after it. He's a confident guy. I believe he's going to get back on track. I like the way he plays. I mean, listen, a couple of years ago, he was shy of 40 home runs, 1 or 2 home runs. He had 38 or 39. And he's fine. He's just going through it right now. So, that kind of quote there, that would steer me away from wanting a guy. The confidence. I mean, listen, you're in the big leagues for a reason. You're going to struggle. That's part of it. It's how you get out of it. All of a sudden, these next 3 weeks, he can go off on a tear. He'll be batting 250 in no time. That's the biggest problem. The psyche up here, you got to be mentally strong in baseball. And to hear a quote like that, it's kind of sad at the same time, because we know and we've seen him do really good. I just think he mentally needs to get right and understand how good he really is.
Chris Getz is like, no, shh, stop talking.
Yeah.
Stop talking. This has been the MO around him, and we had never really heard much from him. The MO around him was like, I don't know, like, is he fully engaged every game? Because he still has his superpowers. He clearly wants to get his stolen bases. I think he's leading the league right now. I think he's got 17 or 18 stolen bases. Like, he's running when he's on. His on-base percentage, while it is lower than his career norm, his walk rate has gone up. Maybe that's because nobody's around him. To me, if he's a change of scenery guy, the GM that trades for him is taking a risk that wherever he fits into, he's going to be like, you know what I want? I want to win, and I want to be the best player that I can be. Because when he is that guy, I don't believe in outliers. I believe when you have a season an elite season like he had, you're only playing under that. That is not like he'll never reach that again. I disagree. I think he's playing below those expectations. And really, it's hard to come to the park every day. If you're not motivated for something, he's got a contract. It's going to be a little bit till he needs another contract. But your team is losing 100 games back-to-back seasons. Last year, they weren't even competitive at all. So it's hard. It's hard to get going for some guys because he's not playing for his life. And if he keeps malazing through the season, he's not going to have any trade value. He's right.
He's not going to cost as much right now if the White Sox do want to move him. It gets tricky for the Sox, though, because then you're like, okay, we have basically no payroll, so that's not the problem.
Mm-hmm.
We might as well let him try to find it again and increase his value. There's still years left on the deal. It's not like he's a free agent after this season either. So it does get tricky when it comes to the asking price.
It's very tricky, and it's not a good time for the White Sox right now at all.
I mean, look at Eloy
Jimenez. To get anybody really in return. Yeah.
Eloy was a very promising bat. And by the end of or trade deadline time last year, the Orioles picked him up. Or like the Orioles? And I don't remember it being a big return. And you're just like, or did he get cut or did he get traded? I don't even remember.
Not sure.
But whatever it was, my point is, Kratz, man, that was a really good looking group for a very short period of time. And these guys aren't old in baseball terms.
Are we saying the Orioles are going to be that trifecta, the Orioles trifecta? Are they going to be what the White Sox trifecta ended up being? I mean, think about the White Sox. They had Eloy. They had Yoan Moncada, Luis Robert. All of them kind of fizzled at the same time. Not old. The only thing they lost was Jose Abreu, that kind of leader in the clubhouse, the guy that kind of kept them accountable. And then their production went down. Orioles, are they going to see the same thing from Gunnar and Adley, or are they going to be able to turn it around?
Yoan, Luis Robert, and Eloy Jimenez are not 30 years old yet. None of them.
That's incredible.
Yoan's 29. Eloy is 28. Robert is 27.
How many managers did they have through their prime of their time in Chicago? Shame on the Chicago organization. That's all I have to say about that. Shame on them for not putting people in their lives to get the most out of them. Ultimately, it's up to them. Ultimately, it's up to each of those guys. But they went through, I'm not sure who the manager was before Tony La Russa.
I can do this game with you.
Go ahead.
I can get the year to year just so we can try and track how many managers they had, right?
I'm forgetting who was there. Was Renteria there before Tony?
I was there with Rick.
So let's start with what's the first season. So Moncada's first year with the White Sox was 2017.
Clearly,
right?
Clearly, because Todd forgot that they were teammates. So I remember that.
Yep. So we know
For
that.
what, a day?
So ready for this?
Oh, you're right.
Rick
You're right.
Renteria, right. Rick Renteria was your manager, right?
Yeah.
In 2017.
Griffol? What was his name? Was he a manager?
Griffol was later. Yeah.
Okay.
Then you had Tony La Russa, right?
Yep.
Who took over for Rick.
Yep.
Miguel Cairo after Tony. That was brief, but Cairo. So that's 3.
Grande Cabeza.
Pedro Grifol. That's 4. Grady Sizemore. That's 5. And for the Robert who's still there, that's Will Venable. I'm counting 6 managers since 2017.
If you want
It's like
somebody
one
to
every
be
year and a half.
engaged, if you want somebody to be engaged, you also have to be engaged with them. You also have to build up that rapport, that relationship. And sometimes we fail as leaders, as managers, as coaches at being engaged with our players. But for 3 guys in one organization to have as big a lapses as they have, people will be like, oh, Luis Robert, Lou Bob, he was legit. And you're right, he was legit. But to me, I don't think that is his max. I think he can do more because of the skill set that he has.
Yeah, you got to see what it looks like somewhere else. Moncada's actually starting to heat up a little bit. Did you see his homer yesterday?
Last night.
Oh my gosh.
Last night.
He pulled the
Maybe
crap
he's a
out of
AAA
that
player.
one.
He hit well in AAA stadium.
Yeah. Hey, do you know what he's up to?
Talk to me.
229 batting, but he's always been more of a plate discipline on base guy, right? I don't think he's been a big batting average monster. 229, he's been okay. Mid 200s, I think, average career. Yeah, 253. 349 on base. That'll play.
Deal.
486 slug for an 835 OPS. 134 OPS plus. That'll play.
You know what he had yesterday that I'd never seen? I've seen different eye blacks. I've seen the cross. I've seen the lines. I think Cobby's using it in LA or in the Rays. He's using a double line. He did dots. He went dot, 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 dot. It was like he had Morse code on his eye black.
Okay. All right.
I like that. That's fun.
Flash. I know.
Yeah.
Gotta ask him why.
Regular eye black. That's tired.
At night, it's really tired, but there's that.
Yeah. Under the lights. But hey, good for the Angels. I mean, nice pickup. I mean, he might be trade bait if things don't work out for them, but clearly this is a guy who moves on from that org and then starts to play a little ball.
I feel like he's been playing for a while now too.
That should be a good selling point for the Sox. Like, hey, did you see how we screwed up Yohan Moncada and what he's doing now?
Exactly.
This could be yours. Luis Robert could be yours. Anyway, let's swing back. We're going to go over the pitching performance from Yamamoto yesterday against the Diamondbacks. Fun series going on between those two. And then also a Shohei Ohtani pitching rehab update. All right, we're back. Checking to see any feedback here from fans. Brandon said Orioles missed Santander. He was their veteran presence. Agreed. But I still think they'd be in a bad spot. Could the offense be in a better place? Yes. Obviously, I'm not going off this year's version of Santander, although nobody can hit homers in Toronto. I think Daulton, Varsho. Actually, you know what? This is perfect time for this because I was like, I'm not going to make this a topic, but I would love to bring this up to my friends. From Matt Snyder, who writes for CBS. This was like a day or two ago. He said Daulton Varsho leads the Toronto Blue Jays with 6 home runs. I don't know if anything changed in the last couple of days, but right now he is the leader in homers. He is on pace for 21 home runs. In 2021, the Toronto Blue Jays had 7 players with at least 20 homers. This year, they're on pace for just one of those players. The only full season where a Blue Jays franchise had no one reach 20 homers was their first season, 1977.
Wow.
Their leader was Ron Fairley with 19. So
Daulton Varsho started the season a month late, too. Andres Gimenez was leading the team with 3, and he had 3 in the first 4 days.
What is going on?
Can we do some ballpark blaming, though? No? We're just saying everything fell apart from a power perspective?
That's a great ballpark to hit in, man.
I mean, do they have fans that are blowing the ball back in? Like, come on. No. Like, there's some ballparks that are tough, but you know, Kaufman, you've had 40 home run seasons out of guys at Kaufman. Like, that's a tough stadium. Toronto ain't Kaufman unless a lot has changed since Todd quit.
It hasn't.
So is that a process thing? Like, how do guys with pop just all lose it? And then you're even bringing in someone from the outside. Where you're like, where's Vladdy's pop? Where's Bo's pop? Then here comes Santander and his 44 homers last year. Where's his pop?
Is it a mentality? Is it a swing pass? I don't know what they're doing and how their hitting coaches are getting them ready for games. I don't know. It's very confusing, man. These guys can hit the ball. and we just haven't seen it.
Crazy. That's a shocker to me. All right, we'll swing back. We'll do Hot Corner. We'll talk about Yamamoto, Ohtani's pitching rehab process, and Jared Jones news is not good. Hot Corner, let's sizzle. Yamamoto is the savior of the Dodgers rotation right now. Carried a no-no into the 7th. Ended up with 7 shutty, 1 hit, and
it's unheard of. 7 innings,
9 strikeouts. I know. ERA is down to 1.86 through his first 10 starts of the season, and he had given up 8 runs over his last 11 innings, so he rebounded. And that included the clunker against the Diamondbacks 2 weeks ago. That was his 2 starts ago.
Imagine that.
They don't give him a lot of run support either, so he's pitching in tight games most of the time.
No, he's a stud. This is a monster pickup here. This guy, basically, if it wasn't for him on the mound here, I mean, this is like an auto win now, Kratzy. I mean, listen, he goes on the mound giving 6, 7 plus each time. He's been fantastic. His fastball is working really well, and there you go. The old zippity-doo dunkaroo after that. Oh, God, just watching this on film. Masterpiece, and he's got a bunch of pitches that players cannot hit right now.
Yeah, and with that, I do want to mention this, Kratz. He deals. The Diamondbacks tied the game up against big money man Tanner Scott. Gabriel Moreno has 3 homers this year. They're all against the Dodgers. And then you had Corbin Carroll's homer in extras. You thought maybe they're going to take another one, and that would be a steal of a dub. Dodgers came back, tied it up. Muncy with the sac fly walk-off, but that's what I'm talking about. That's a good game. You know, we're back to talking a little more about the Dodgers again, but that was a really fun late-night contest to watch last night.
Oh, totally. And the Dodgers are kind of reeling right now. They needed a start like this from Yamamoto, but the biggest thing for me was the adjustment he made from the last start against Arizona. There's also a thing, it was in Arizona. I want to see what happens next time he throws in Arizona. See if something wasn't working well. To me, his last start, he wasn't throwing that splitter down and out of the zone enough to the point where he was able to locate his heater. So maybe it was the mound. Maybe he just wasn't feeling it that day. For me, it's about how does Yamamoto get through an entire season healthy and still be the top of this rotation coming into the playoffs. And unfortunately, like Todd said, he's the guy, like he's almost like an automatic win. You're only looking at 25 starts out of this guy. That's just the track record. That is what the Dodgers are looking at. So your automatic win all of a sudden goes out the window because he has to skip a start. Then the next, 3 rotations through, he's got to skip another start. Or do they let him run and see where they are at the end of the season? I don't think they're going to do that.
I mean, at some point you got to have Snell, Glass now, hopefully back in the second half, helping to pick up some slack with innings.
Well, yeah, they have a bunch of these pieces. They just need them to come back. I mean, it's
shoulders, man.
If they can get Snell going, I mean, oof. I mean, whoever comes back, it's a plus. It's not like Erik Kratz is coming back.
Yeah, they're aces. They're aces. I mean, Kratz had good pitching numbers, but he couldn't go more than like an inning
he's
and
just going to take someone's spot.
What?
Yeah.
I could throw forever. Just ask the guys on my team. I can throw forever. You just don't want me out there. There's a lot of runs scoring. But no, they need you, Scott. Your hesitation right there was like they need innings. This is crazy that we're talking about this. The Dodgers need innings. And I'm not saying that's why Tanner Scott gave up a home run to an MVP candidate and Corbin Carroll, who at the time I think was like 2 for 24 against the Dodgers going into that last at bat. But you sit there and you go, who is going to throw us our innings? Because you can't have guys just take big league innings the entire season and then go, oh, neat. Blake Snell, Tyler Glasnow, Yoshinobu Yamamoto are all pitching our first 3 games of the playoffs. Like, it rarely works out that way. So they need guys to keep their bullpen healthy by throwing more than 4 innings.
Yep, fair. I want to ask you a baseball-y question, Kratz. I'm watching the game last night, and Oral Hershiser brought up how Yamamoto doesn't want the glove to just be set up in an area or a direction. He wants precision. So he said Will Smith will set up for him almost exactly where he wants it. Obviously, you don't want to set up too early if someone's on second and get location taken, but wanted to get your thoughts on that because they talked about it. I think they were hitting a break soon, and they did. That was the nasty Buehler, the one that he looked at, that he located. Right before that, Hershiser's talking about how he wants like the precision spot. So I'm just curious how many guys were like that. And I know, I mean, you spent a little bit of time with the Rays. Their whole thing is, hey, we're just going to set you up down the middle and let your stuff play around. But what do you think of the way that Yamamoto asks his catcher to give me the exact spot and I'm going to try and nail it? And obviously it's on a corner usually.
I love it. I've argued about this since all the pitch framing metrics have come in. In my opinion, if your pitchers aren't aiming small to miss small, then it's going to be larger misses. And as soon as you get into the larger misses, everywhere where you're throwing a pitch into like the nice zones where you can throw into to stay away from their hot zones, they're directly located right next to the hot zones for a hitter. So if a guy hammers the ball down and in, he probably chases farther down and in. So you have to be able to make sure these guys are throwing to the exact location that you want. And to me, you need to have pinpoint accuracy, and it starts with a good target. Now, all that's out the window when you see, I have my mitt here, when you see guys nowadays, because I was told in my last few years, it doesn't matter where you put your mitt. Not by pitchers, because I would ask individual pitchers and they'd be like, no, I definitely need to see your mitt. But guys do this one, they flash it, and then they go, whoop, 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 whoop. Gloves going everywhere before the pitch. And I was told, straight to my face, pitchers don't throw to the glove. Just ask them. And I was like, at that point, I had 18 years of playing professional baseball, and I had never heard that. And it's the rhetoric that is pushed now. And to me, a guy like Yamamoto, and this might be like a gross generalization because I'm bringing up one of the best Japanese, if not the best Japanese pitcher I ever caught, Masahiro Tanaka would do the exact same thing. We would go to a scouting report, and the one I remember is Freddie Freeman. He's like, I found this weird stat that Freddie Freeman sucks at sliders or cutters up in the zone. And I'm like, Masa, we are not throwing sliders up in the zone. Those are hangers. He's like, I think it'll be a good idea. He's like, I want to try it. So we did it. He goes, but make sure your mitt is exactly where we need to throw it. And I was like, okay. And Japanese pitchers refine their mechanics so intricately that they repeat it over and over again. They can dot a gnat's behind anytime they want with the pitches that they want. And he went out that game and flummoxed, absolutely twisted Freddie Freeman's scouting report. He was just like, struck him out twice. He ended up hitting a dinger later in the game against Chad Green, but it wasn't Masa on the mound anymore. So that kind of thing, it does happen, and some guys need that precision location.
That's fascinating. How come we can't get more of that? Like you're explaining this for a couple Japanese players. How come that's not more of a normal thing? Like, do you think it's a Japanese pro baseball cultural thing that leads to this? Yeah.
Very mechanical. Very mechanical. They don't have a Todd father going, sometimes you just got to go out there and swing it, dog. Like, they're very balance oriented. Everything is mechanical. Everything is repeated from a young age. And I think their coaching coaches that more. I think here, strictly talking about pitching, Guys are taught exactly what Eno just said. You ain't getting drafted unless you throw 96, 97 in the first round. Well, what kid's like, I'd love to be a 10th to 15th rounder. No. Every kid is chasing velocity. They hit their PR. They throw 91 miles an hour. They're like, I'm buying heavy balls and throwing them into a wall 10 feet in front of me. Here we go. Not, I'm going to just absolutely iron out my mechanics perfectly so that I can put the ball exactly where I want it. There's not one pitching guru on Twitter, on Instagram that's putting videos out there of like, here's how you refine your mechanics. No, it's here's how you throw a ball without looking at it and watch the radar gun explode.
That is true. Like even the other day, I saw a Noah Syndergaard video with him just doing one of those run and throws, and they're like, "Oh,
run and gun!" It's a run and gun.
Run and gun, yeah,
Oh,
run and gun.
God.
You're like, "Oh, like, okay, I got it."
It's
Right,
theatrics.
yeah, it's theatrics in Japan. Kratz, right? If you have no command, like you are going to get seriously burned, right? They're going to say, "Yep, not for us." Here, if you have no command, they're like, we might be able to get enough command that this will play.
Yeah.
We just had Eno Sarris on the show earlier, right? Some of those guys with their stuff plus numbers look fantastic, and their ERAs look poo-poo.
The weight zone.
This right here might change the game. The challenge system, if guys are able to truly command balls, might change the game because we're not going to get those calls wrong. We're going to be able to, as pitching coaches say, don't nibble. Don't nibble. We're going to be able to nibble. It's not just going to be your stuff versus my stuff.
That's cool. Okay, let's take one other turn here. Shohei Ohtani rehab update. This one from Fabian Ardaya. Dave Roberts doesn't have a date for him to start facing hitters, but he incorporated breaking balls into his flat ground session today, another step forward for him because I know he had a pen session last weekend, but there still were no breaking balls. So now we at least have flat ground breaking balls. Maybe next step is bullpen session breaking balls. He's already got the fastball and the splitter. So this is the slowest rehab progress of all time.
Listen, it's slow. It's just what we talked about. The Japanese, they take their time. I'm not saying, that's what the Dodgers want.
And he's been hurt a billion times.
And he's been hurt.
Arm.
So let's take it slow. Take another week. Take another month. Let's go. They'll be fine. They want to make sure he's 100. Even if he's not 100, well, even when he's 100%, things could go away. But they know they crossed and checked off everything and went back and checked their work a double time. And I think this is a great idea.
The Dodgers have had like a slower time period here. They're about 500-ish in May.
Mm-hmm.
If the Padres were still on a heater and they were like 5-6 games up, Kratz? No? I'm not saying they're going, all right, you're back tomorrow. But I wonder if they're just like, they're like Saturday or they're like, no breakers yet. Let's get some breakers involved in the pen session. We don't have to wait a month to get breaking balls into his bullpen sessions. No,
nope.
Not yet. No.
Not happening. We're talking about him playing catch. He knows how to pitch. I bet there's some backup catchers that have thrown as many flat grounds as Shohei has already. They're taking his time. Their time.
Clearly. Well, there's your update. Okay. Stay tuned. Just for full transparency, we have not located the polar bear. He's a big boy, but we have not heard back from him, and he's a great dude. So I'm sure, first of all, hope he's okay. But if not, or if he is okay and he just forgot, we'll get Pete back on because we're running low on time. So instead, we'll talk. Let's get to the Jarrett Jones injury. Injuries suck coming up next. BetMGM locks. I memorize Todd's picks nowadays. It's no offense to my friends, but I memorize Todd picks because he like pound for pound, game for game was the best last year, and
Yeah.
this year it hasn't changed. So I'm just like, Buehler gets bounced. Mets offense comes up empty. Like,
Didn't
son
matter.
of a gun.
Didn't matter.
Todd Father's just dominating.
Appreciate that, man.
Good hit.
I need to hear a little of that sometimes.
You do.
Get my psyche up.
Because Papelbon just does run lines against the worst teams in baseball. And if
Yeah.
you've done that for the past year and a half, you might be a lucrative bettor.
You
But
could.
Todd Father's cooking up something special each day for
Appreciate
you.
it.
And he's up 1275 on the year. So what should I be watching tonight?
Listen, I am sticking to it. I'm sticking with the Red Sox.
Wow, again.
We talk about this. Garrett Crochet is on the mound. Guy's super, super good athlete, good pitcher, and I'm going with the run line too. -1 and a hook. That's -1.5. I'm going Red Sox to win by 2 runs. I'm going to go 300. It's at plus 150 actually. That's the only thing that scares me. I don't know why it's that high. Plus 150, so 300 to win 450. Enjoy.
Boom. There you go.
Todd,
Kratz.
do you know who's pitching for the Mets?
I do. Is it McGill?
See, you're a legend. I want to talk, and I want your face to be on the screen so that they don't even see me.
Tyler?
And I just got lost. I just get lost in your eyes.
Thank you very much. Nice.
Why'd you ask
mustache.
him that?
Because yesterday he's like, because Walker Buehler, he's a beast. Yo, he's a big game guy. And the Mets, they're kind of not on the wave. They're kind of down. Teams are on the wave. And everything went exactly opposite of what he said, except his lock hit. So you're a legend. You're a legend, Todd.
Yeah. Well, hold on. It's hard enough to pick the result.
Mm,
Picking the whole script, I mean, nobody does that.
no.
Yeah. So,
Results-based oriented. That's all.
he's just saying the
Todd
sum of
and
one
Alex
team's
Cora.
parts. Yeah.
Todd and Alex Cora were leaning on Walker Buehler yesterday, and Alex Cora ripped a phone booth apart because he got tossed in the second inning. Todd,
You want to know something?
money.
You want to know something about that game? I didn't look at anything because I had a little league. Come back. Blake goes, my son's a Mets fan, and he goes, Dad, check who the score is. Oh, 2-0, top 9. I said, oh, we're doing good
Well,
right now.
yeah, exactly. You're like,
He
they're losing?
He wasn't happy though. But
No, of course not. But tell him Dad won. Injuries suck. We do this once or twice a week. I don't want to be too depressed. It's middle of the week, but this is a big name last year in the rotation for the Pirates, and we haven't seen him yet, and I don't know if we'll see him the rest of the year. Jared Jones is getting surgery in his right elbow. No specific details on what the surgery is, and it's happening today. I don't know if we've had any updates since then, but elbow surgery, youngster, you can usually do the math. Not good.
So, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry. He was injured, right?
Yes.
They didn't do surgery.
Start the year.
He was injured.
Kratzy, right or wrong? So he's been injured for
Start
a
the
while.
year,
now,
yeah.
Right?
And he is out
Yeah,
for the
he
rest of
started
the
the
year,
year.
by the way.
So to start the year, and we're in May. I mean, it's been what, give or take 2 and change months, right? I mean, was it in spring training?
Yeah, well, it was in spring training. He came back in late April, not to the big league mound, but to throwing. Didn't go well.
So it's been about 2 months. I mean, 2 months that he could have been rehabbing right now. This is my problem with some doctors, and I'm not telling them what to do or not. I know the people, they could come back, do all this rehab, and they'll be fine. That, to me, that's I don't know. I don't see it happening too often, and I'm not. All right, it's 2 months. Don't get me wrong, but the guy had a problem, and now all of a sudden, they're getting surgery. That just boggles my mind a little bit. That's all. I feel bad for the kid because I really like him.
Yeah, AJ's on the same page as you. He'll say this sometimes. When you get to that point, just get the surgery.
Yeah, just get
right?
it done.
But I mean, usually the teams are trying to see whatever, rest and rehab. Everyone nowadays says, oh, when you hear PRP, it's like, okay, cool. So he's going to do the PRP.
Yeah.
Then he's going to wait another whatever amount of months.
It's going to make it feel better. It's not going to, I don't know if
be
it's
a
going to
problem.
fix it fully.
No.
Sometimes.
But if this is TJ Kratz, which is most likely the case, we're looking at 2027.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost June with the timetable for a young starter.
That's it.
He's not back till 2027. So now, again, if you're a Pirates fan, we're going, okay, we currently suck. We are not allowed to buy significant free agent pieces. And we're missing our number 2, our second or third best starter in the rotation. So Bubba Chandler will come up at some point this year. Hopefully he's good. He looks really damn good as a prospect. You've got Skenes going, but you're missing
Harrington.
Jones. Right.
Harrington
yeah.
Was supposed to add to that. You're missing Jones. You're missing it. They can't. And when he comes back, because he will be fully healthy in 2027, Paul Skenes will already have 3 years of service under his belt. Now he's becoming expensive in arbitration. Rookie of the year, he's going to be a Cy Young candidate at least one of the 3 years. And Jared Jones hasn't thrown more than 120 innings during that time. Like, it is hard to keep guys healthy on the mound. It's not Jared Jones' fault, and I'm not even saying it's the organization's fault for, getting him hurt or anything like that. I'm just saying you have a window to take advantage of good pitchers. You have to take it. You can't just say, well, you know what? We'll use what we have in the organization. And on another part of this, Jared Jones got hurt. Jared Jones throws really hard. When is an organization, and again, I go back to the Pirates because they have to think outside the box. Rockies have to think outside the box. Rays are thinking outside the box. When are they going to say, you know what? All these guys are still getting hurt, and we're babying their arms. Jared Jones threw back-to-back seasons in the minor leagues at 20 years old and 21 years old, 122 innings, and then the next year, 126 innings. Last year, he got hurt at 121 innings. Like, when are we going to build these guys up and maybe not make them throw max effort for all 120 innings? Let's try to get them to like 170 and then see where they're at. Like, why are we always babying these arms? Because they're still getting hurt, and he has an elite arm.
It's not working. Don't look at me, right? Look at scouts, many people inside organizations, and we talked about this on Baseball America Hot Sheet on Monday. I was kicking this around with JJ Cooper, who has very informed opinions. They're coming from other people in organizations. Here was the example we brought up. We do a lot of Q&A during that show. Someone's like, hey, what's up with Noah Schultz? He's the big pitching prospect with the Chicago White Sox, right? Yeah. And I happen to know a lot about him because AJ, I'm sitting next to most days, brings up how for the first, I think, 2 years of his pro career, they wouldn't let him go past, 3 innings?
He has never thrown over 5 innings.
It was 5? I thought a lot of his outings I remember seeing were like 3, 4, right?
They are.
So, yeah. Yeah, not allowed to go over 5. Is that what you said?
Yeah, hasn't gone over 5 innings yet.
Okay, so now
I'll look it up. I'll get the final number.
But here's the difference. They said this year they're letting him do that. What's happening? It's not going well so far. And again, it's early in the season. But my question to JJ was, what is going on with this starter when for 2 years you wouldn't let him be himself, right? So in high school, I guarantee you he went, as long as he could, 6, 7 innings, whatever, right? Whatever you're allowed, whatever state he's pitching. Yeah. And then as a pro, he's not allowed to pitch more than a few innings. Go ahead, Kratz. It was 4, right?
Clamps.
4 freaking innings. He's a pro. My take, Kratz, here was I would rather let him go, especially if they're stress-free. I get it. You want to pull him here and there. I'm not saying he's got to pitch 7 innings every outing. But let him get some of those in there when he's just free-flowing and he's just dialing up and 3 hitless innings against someone, and then you're pulling him. I'm like, I'd rather him go 5 that outing, knock 2 innings off the end of his season if that's what you're really tracking.
Here's another stat for you. His highest pitch count of any game before 2025, 75 pitches. Now this year he's gone 92, 82, 84, and 80.
And he's got a ERA close to 5 at Double A Birmingham.
Because he's learning for the first time. He's learning for the first time to pitch tired. It's not his fault. If you never understand, if you never know what fire is, if you're never like, what am I going to do? How am I going to get through this? Oh, manager's taking me out. All right, cool. I feel good. Thank you.
And that's not fair to his development. That's my point. And when I start bringing that up, and you've got scouts, you've got internal people with teams, Alex Anthopoulos is a good guy to ask about this, who leads the Braves front office, because he said he was so worried about that for part of his career with the Blue Jays. Then he saw it going on with the Dodgers, babying certain guys. And he's like, I don't see any correlation with this working, right? So he's like, yeah, we're going to do less of that. And then what happens with the Bravos? I think they've done a sneaky job of developing pitchers.
Agreed.
Spencer Schwallenbach's a great story. AJ Smith-Shriver, neither of those guys had a lot of experience before this. Schwellenbach was more of a hitter, and they just bring him in out of the bullpen. He had never started, but they just they put him in the minors and say, just go eat. So
yeah, that's it.
Anyway, all right. The update on Pete Alonso is issue that came up. All good. He apologizes to the FT fam. We're good. We love Pete. He's going to come on next week, so we'll get a reschedule. No big deal.
Sometimes you go to the zoo. Sometimes you go to the zoo and you don't see the polar bear. Okay? Sorry, FT. Sometimes you just got to come back to the zoo, and you'll get to see the polar bear, do all the polar bear stuff, dive in the water, be late for the first pitch because he was pooping, all that stuff.
All right. This zoo will do slap hands coming up next. Hey, Kratz, you're up. What's your BetMGM lock today?
I totally forget what it is, except it's the Yankees striking out more than 9.5 times today. It's coming out plus
it is
110.
Yes, sir.
Why did you? Sometimes you do that. Like, you got it. Just say it with your chest. You got it. The Yankees are going to strike out 10 or more times today. Why?
Because they get to face Jakob deGrom, but their big strikeout guys in their bullpen in the Rangers bullpen are available for tonight. And if somebody strikes out a lot, the Yankees are actually striking out at a nice little clip. So I'm not saying they're not going to get some hits, but they got some strikeout pitcher. They got a strikeout pitcher in deGrom on the mound, and the bullpen guys that strike dudes out, healthy.
Beautiful. I'm going to lock in Trevor Williams over 2.5 earned runs allowed. Trying to bring a little bit of variety to what I'm doing.
Make sure you watch that inning. You can go get something to eat, come back. All right, he's pitching again.
And you got a 3-run homer. You're
where
done.
Do you guys find these? But I can't find any of this stuff.
So he went 4 1/3, 3 earned runs last time out against the Braves. He's facing the Braves.
Yeah.
So last time against the Braves, he's gone over 4 in all of his past 4 appearances. So, you're just trying to catch a pitcher where he's A, in a down period of his season. B, he's facing a Braves lineup that's been looking pretty damn good over the past couple weeks. And he's facing the Braves in back-to-back appearances. And the Braves did okay against them. So you add all that up. And the Braves lost yesterday to the Nats. And I'm like,
true.
And Williams usually will give them length because their bullpen sucks.
So
true. I'm adding it all up, and I'm like, I'm kind of convincing myself 240, please. 240 to win 200 for tonight's game. Yes. And if your home run bet doesn't clear the fences, BetMGM's got your back. An MLB home run no sweat token. Activate that token. And if your bet comes up short, you'll get your stake back in bonus bets. Gambling problem or concern? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Coming back for slap hands, and the retirement announcements have just been left and right lately. So we'll say cheers to another great part of our game for his playing days. Let's slap and congratulate Kolten Wong on a nice career. Cheers to Kolten. He was trying to see if anything popped up kind of down the stretch. last couple years and decided just in the past, I think 24 hours to put the official announcement out there. And I liked how Matt Carpenter described it to us the other day when he announced his retirement, because of course you've got AJ trolling him, being like, haven't you been retired for like a year or two? And he's like, well, I just want to put out a thank you. So
Yeah.
I like, he had a nice comeback there where he's like, yeah, I just want to say thanks to everyone. So Kolten just did the same thing. 2-time Gold Glove winner, registered 11 seasons in the bigs, part of some very successful Cardinals teams, was very well liked there.
Definitely. Good guy.
Yeah, good dude. Good fella.
Congratulations, big dog.
What does he do? What do they do in Hawaii? That one? Hang loose, bro.
Surf,
He's going to
yeah.
hang loose for a minute now. Ooh, Kolten Wong's going to love him some retirement.
He's retired and he's 34 years old. I mean, the advantages of dealing with the pressures of baseball, racking up a little, I mean, this is public info, 50-ish mil in the career, and just enjoy it. I think he's going to want to do a lot of things, maybe a little broadcast. I would say most likely coaching, especially when you have a guy like Kolten who's coming from an area where they probably aren't loaded with great coaches in Hawaii, and he can probably make an impact on a lot of young players' lives, right?
There's a lot of good young coaches for like little league kids. I don't know about the coaching staffs as they get older, but they breed athletes out there at a young age, and especially you see them in the Little League World Series. So,
right, Little League World Series,
those coaches are incredible, and they're the most down to earth coaches you'll meet in your life. Yeah, man, it is what it is. We're just gonna keep like they're just so, and they communicate well.
Island vibes.
Yeah,
They're Jamaican.
Yeah,
I don't know what happened.
He threw. I think he watched. Did you watch the Bob Marley movie the other day? Was that what you were saying?
I don't know, man. I don't know why. Yeah, man. Yeah.
They definitely don't talk like that.
I don't know what happened there. It just fell out.
Don't
what
go.
What are you wearing on your head, nerd?
Yeah, what do you got?
I mean, Memorial Day weekend coming up. You got to get out there.
Very nice.
MLB Memorial Day, July 4th, military remembrance stuff all weekend. Let's get it.
Oh, that mustache is wrong.
I'm going to Hawaii with Todd Father, okay? I want to hear him speak Jamaican to everyone.
How did they speak in Hawaii?
Yeah, boy. Booba Cloud.
Boy.